What's going on, everybody? This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the forex market. This is another Trade with Travis episode. This is another live setting or session. The market is literally about to open up for stocks in the next few minutes. Um, the market has had a big drop, and then after that, it's seeming like it's going to end up having a little bit of a retracement. Something to be able to talk about, something to be able to go through as we go through everything. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the disclaimer while the market actually opens up. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from that education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that forex trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind and understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money today. With that being said, as we go through and take a look at most of these markets, I'm seeing a couple things that we're going to end up seeing a couple things that we should be pretty much interested in. Obviously, if you look at what's happening with US 30, you look at what's happening with NAS 100 and everything else like that, they are breaking outside of consolidation zones, but they're basically retracing back into the previous drop areas or the previous low volume nodes that the market ended up basically seeing. So the question is, are we looking at large scale? Are we looking at large scale retracement moves when it comes down to all of these pairs, or are we just looking at a retest? That's something that's going to end up being very important when it comes down to this overall movement. Yesterday, we was able to do about $4,000 when it came down to the movement to the downside on NAS 100. We ended up doing about $600 on US 30 and did a couple dollars on XBX 500. But if you notice, all of these at the start of the market are starting to make moves to the overall upside. So the question is, if the move going to end up being done, are we going to fully look at this as a change in the overall market in the sediment, or when it comes down to the overall movement? It's something to be able to think about, something to be able to talk about, surely. I almost think that there's going to end up being another type of move that I'm going to end up talking about, where I think that we're basically at the start of a large scale consolidation. And because we are at the start of a large scale consolidation, I think that just like what happens in July, you're probably going to end up seeing that the market will probably end up pushing up to another resistance, and then after that, basically ranging inside of that area. So that's something that I am going to end up talking about today. I'm going to go through all of these charts. I think that you did not get in when it came down to how the market kind of opened up just a few seconds ago. I think that you probably end up missing out on at least the first portion of the move, because we are in a low volume node and that market has fulfilled that overall gap earlier this morning. But it is worth seeing if this market could push back up to the overall highs of where it was previously, back up to 31,450 when it comes down to movement. Based off of what I'm looking at over here. So what I'm going to end up doing is that I am going to end up taking a look at these charts, but all of them has already started to make this move. So I'm not going to tell anybody to look at trying to be able to jump in. Plus, they're going against the trend right now at this current point. So as long as they're going against the trend, there's really no upside to being able to jump into it right now. I probably wish I would have got on probably about 10 minutes ago, and we probably could have talked about this all the way through. That could have been an easy scout move for everyone, but as we go through, let's take a look at what's happening with the economic calendar to see what's happening when it comes down to that information. And then after that, I'll get back onto the charts real quick. If there's any pairs that people want to talk about, we can take a look at those as well, and be able to go from there. Currently right now, if you take a look at the economic calendar, essentially what we end up seeing is that we're on Tuesday. Governor Bailey's going to end up speaking at 1 o'clock. We're going to end up having interest rate decisions for the New Zealand dollar. So there might end up being, if there's somebody looking at New Zealand dollar pairs, there might end up being a chance to be able to take a look at those, see if there's any pockets or openings when it comes down to those pairs. But I am interested in being able to see what's going to end up happening with them. Let's go ahead and take a look at the big three real quick. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to open up the chart, but I'm going to come right back real quick. I just got to make sure that my garage is closed. And we'll end up talking about what's happening based off of those pairs as well, as we take a look at how the market is basically reacting to this morning in the overall movements. Okay. All right. So just give me 1 quick second. Okay, so What's happening right now is this pretty simple. United States dollar index is in a push zone on the weekly. It's expected to be able to go all the way up to 13,512. We end up having a strong move yesterday. We're seeing another strong move at the beginning of the day today when it comes down to the United States dollar index and how it's moving. I do expect that it's going to end up gradually getting there. Remember, the most significant thing about an R3 trade is that the market is in a one-sided trading position, which means that you have a better chance of being able to trade the right direction as long as you are able to find, in this case, a low price to be able to get in. The market ended up going inside of this triangle. It ended up breaking out of the triangle after being able to have a retest, and then after that, having a strong move to the upside. The daily field is expected to end at 13,168. So for my scalpers, for the people that are looking for moves on and come down to that, I will go to the 2 hour, go to the 1 hour, see if the market gets into the buy zone, and then after that, look at being able to make a move once that market gets to that point. If you do get that, then that's where your big trade will actually end up being. So currently, right now, we're taking a look at what's happening with this overall movement. The market is not in the buy zone, and it does not have a counter trend line break. That is what I would look to be able to see for this market to be able to do before actually being able to do that. So look for a retracement, and then after that, counter trend line break from that move. We see that we had this previous consolidation that was right here. So you may end up seeing that the market will turn past resistance into a future support right here before the market actually ends up making another move. So that would be the thing that I would pay attention to. United States dollar index pairs, I would not look at being able to get in, at least not yet, until that move actually happens. We end up going from there. Let's talk about what's happening with oil. Geez, US 30 is on a climb. The market has moved from 30,946 all the way up to the pivot at 30,228. Wish I would have got it. Wish I would have talked about that a little bit earlier. But it is what it is. I still think the market from our confirmations is still to the downside. So we end up taking a look at that and just look at this as a retracement. But there is a pivot. There is a point where I will probably end up considering being able to get in if everything goes right. There has to be some serious retracement before being able to make that move. If not, then it's already missed. From a weekly perspective, what's happening with oil is that the market is inside of consolidation. Because oil is inside of consolidation, it makes it very easy. There's no trade to be able to take until the market falls back down to 95 and holds at 95. So currently, right now, there's no move on that move. I'm going to stay away from that pair and will not look at being able to trade that pair overall. Let's go ahead and go into gold. I think gold is in the same consolidation spot, but that means that the market should continue to fall. The market ended up pushing all the way up to 2070. The market is expected to be able to fall all the way down to 1685. There's about another 50 points of overall movement that you can be able to get out of gold if you are trading gold to the downside. The market already hit a daily D extension earlier, and it has retraced a little bit. We talked about this last week where we said that if the market ended up breaking this consolidation, trade the retest off support. If you end up doing that, then you're basically in the push zone for this movement. If you are not in that position, the daily is in the buy zone, but that doesn't necessarily mean much because the market's in consolidation. I would say that you still have this little bit of area that is left when it comes down to this movement. If you can be able to get a good scalping move based off of the 15-minute, then it may end up being an opportunity to be able to make a trade off of that and be able to go from that movement from there. Hold on for a second. But take a look at that movement. I can look at and see based off of the 2 hour. This is somewhat in the sell zone right now at this particular point. Everybody give me 1 second. This is I have to take this call. Be real quick. Okay. Sorry about that. So let's see. Of course, I'm getting messages about people manually entering long on US 30 and NAS 100. Okay, so if we're looking at what's happening based off of this, the market is in a little bit of consolidation when it comes down to gold at this particular spot on the 2 hour. What I would end up saying is that this is your natural support right there. As long as the market ends up breaking that support and then after that giving you an opportunity to be able to get in after a retest, then I would look at being able to sell it to the downside um, after it ends up having a breakout retest and then after that quick move. Now, this quick scalping position. Um, Question would be, do you have enough risk versus reward to be able to do that? You have about 398 points. If you end up risking 240, that probably wouldn't necessarily, it'd be more than a 1 to 1.5. The question is it worth taking that trade at that particular point? Uh, I would say no because it's not 1 to 2.3. But for people that like to be able to trade 1 to 1.5 risk reward ratio, that goes a spot that you could possibly be able to take inside of there. Now let's get back into what's happening with these overall pairs. Here goes the big movement that we're looking at earlier today, based off of US 30. And I'm going to start off with the weekly, then after that, get back to the daily, and then talk about what's happening for the overall movement. Currently, right now, from a weekly perspective, this market is still on a phase to the downside. Obviously, we got long-term trend and everything else being to the downside. There has to be some type of news that has made this market basically move the way that it's happening right now. But market ended up bouncing off at 29,665. Then after that, retraced all the way up. It hit the 382, and then after that, start showing signs that it was going to end up turning over. Now, based off of that, now we can be able to start taking a look at the overall decision about what we're going to end up doing. Because currently, if we're looking at this, I would say that the market is starting to show consolidation, and we're basically just going to see this thing start to range. And I think it's pushing up to our overall resistance level. That's based off of the weekly. The weekly direction to me is to the downside, but if you look at it for the last 3 weeks, the market has been in consolidation, and that's typical for what happens in July. If we take a look at what's happening from a daily perspective, we can see that the daily is clearly in the sell zone. We end up having movement to the downside earlier, but the market hasn't fully made that strong move to the downside where it's basically them found support at 30,460, and we have a little bit of resistance at 31,460. So you're talking about 1,000 point overall differential when it comes down to movement. You can see that with this high volume node that is right here when it comes down to that movement. So what we'll probably end up seeing is that the market will end up pushing up and trying to push up at least towards 31,460 for this overall movement before seeing if this market is going to end up breaking out. Now, if it breaks out at 31,460, let me be a little bit more precise. If it breaks out of 550, then that means that we have a strong gap area from 31,000 all the way up to 32,820 that will end up being the next gap that will end up having to be fulfilled. Currently, right now, I just think that we're just getting this large movement solely because the market has been retracing a little bit, and just like with anything, more people love to be able to buy than they like to sell. It's just this natural nature when it comes down to stocks and everything else. So let's take a look at what's been happening for the overall wave trend, and this will kind of explain it a little bit more when it comes down to what you end up seeing. These are the highest points that we end up talking about a little bit earlier. So we end up having a large consolidation within a overall high volume node. Market ended up falling from a low consolidation. You had a quick drop area. That's what we end up making our first profit based off this move. Consolidation, quick drop. Consolidation, quick movement to the upside. Consolidation, again, quick movement to the upside. Consolidation, quick movement back in the same low profile volume. And then after that, we end up having this large scale consolidation that is inside of this high volume node that's right in here. So as long as price is inside of this area, I'm going to be very much conscientious about getting in and getting out very quickly. And the only reason why I look at it that way is because that until the market ends up proving that it's ready to be able to break out of 440, then this market could be able to go up to 440 tap and then after that push back down. For the people that end up getting into this trade based off of this movement, let's zoom in and see what's actually happening. What happened was a couple days ago, market ended up pushing up, got into the consolidation, rejected off of this overall highs. Then after that, fell down briefly and basically went into consolidation again, fell down and then fell down to the midpoint of this high profile, high volume node at this point. Now, With that being said, what's significant about this is that it's done broken out of two. It's done went into this low volume node, pushed up, then pushed past the point of control of 217, and has not had much of resistance when it comes down to that level. If I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, well, where could the market potentially end up going based off of where it is? Um, this could be naturally the launching pad where the market could continue to really start this moving. And if it breaks 31,430 and truly breaks the highs, so let's say 31,500, then we may end up saying that this thing is truly considered to be bullish. I'm not fully into saying that the market is truly bullish just based off of this movement yet. This market is going to make some type of significant movement more than what it's been doing for me to consider that it's ready to go. Um, but just like with anything else, it is earnings season, and we're seeing that stocks led by tech traders brace for earnings season. Blah 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 blah. Gold market tracks earnings growth. So obviously earnings have been coming out, and I'm pretty sure there has been some good news based off of that. So I think that's the reason why the market has been moving like it has, at least at this particular point. So currently, right now, is there a move on US 30 for us being able to get in? If you did not jump in yet, I will not tell you to jump in now. There's no movement. There's no movement that would make sense to be able to get in and try to stay in on this point, at least late after the market's done moved up 200 points. Um, if you are looking at this and saying, okay, well, where could the market potentially go? If it keeps on pushing up bullish, I say 31,460 is probably the um, or 31,440 is the area where I would look at being able to get out if you're already in. But it is moving. Once again, it is moving inside of a consolidated area. I came here ready to say that the market was in a full consolidation spot, and if it rejects off of 440, then we will truly, know that this is the large scale consolidation that we're probably going to see for the rest of the month. If it is based off of that, if it stays that way. So if you're not in, I would stay out. I will wait for the next movement to be able to see what will happen. I will not trade inside of this. I will not trade inside of any of this consolidation. I will look at being able to place pending orders on the outside of this overall movement, anywhere from 31,480 all the way up to 31,500 if you want to be safe. And then after that, you can start being able to go after the next high volume node, which is basically this large scale area that the market initially fell down to. That's the big trade that I would look at being interested in when it comes down to this movement. To the downside, the next big entry I would say is if this market ends up breaking below 31,440 and then after that truly pushing and being able to go from there. So US 30, I'm kind of out of just saying that I think that the market is going to end up well, I think that it's still in consolidation. I'm not interested in being able to make a move yet. Let's take a look at Nas 100. I wish I would have caught that move this earlier though, because I was in a sale. I got out of the sale, seen the consolidation, seen that it was breaking out of a high volume node. I should have took it just as a scalp, but it is what it is. Um, we take a look at what's happening with Nas 100. Nas 100 is actually moving bearish as well. We're starting to see a little bit of a channel that's basically being created, or a little bit of a flag that's actually being created. This market is moving more towards the upside, at least from a 2 week perspective. But overall, the market is still pushing bearish. The market could fall all the way down to 91.82 if there is something that is wrong with the overall market for its overall movement. Keep that in mind. Now, from a daily perspective, why my stochastic not showing? Um, I'm going to go to the daily on this one, and we'll talk about it. Daily is in the sell zone as well. We end up having so on this one, we end up having an evening star that ended up happening a couple days ago, and based off of that evening star, today is the day where the day will end up retesting that evening star. And I think that's the reason why the market has pushed up. I wouldn't be surprised if the market gets up to at least 12,000 and then after that try to be able to make a decision on what's going to happen with the overall move, in which it actually ended up doing. It went up to 1994, and we can see that the market is rapidly starting to retrace at this particular point. I think this is one of those movements to where you see the market kind of have a big move to the upside, and then after that starts to retrace, and then the move is currently and then the move is truly to the downside. And this is where institutional traders end up making their money off of it. They suck people in when it came down to the movement to the upside, and then now they can be able to make money off you to the movement to the downside based off of that movement. Um, that is the first thing that I'm thinking about. I am way more interested in selling off of this pair. Let me take a look at it from an hourly perspective and see if there's a position where I could possibly be able to get in. Obviously, we're inside of consolidation as well when it comes down to this one, but I'm going to go based off of the hour and be able to take a look at this. I need to do this real quick. I need to do this. I need to make sure that this is showing. Yeah. Whatever. Um, so I'm going to go through this real quick because I'm seeing that sellers are basically wiping out that move, which is a good thing because it's something that I kind of expected. Um, so going back on this one, large scale consolidation, big drop off. Large scale consolidation, big drop off. We're seeing that the market is going through this overall phase. We are inside of a larger scale consolidation as well when it comes down to this movement. So we went from the market breaking down all the way to the support at 11,380. It's done a hit on that one a couple times. That would basically end up showing what a large scale consolidation would end up being at support. Currently, right now, we see that the market total resistance will be at 12,150. So our large scale consolidation is from here all the way to here. And we're just inside of that overall pocket area of what's happening when it comes down to movement. You're going to end up having large movements, and after that, you're going to end up having large areas where the market would retrace. Now, the reason why I like the daily when it comes down to this overall movement is because the market has basically went through this consolidation movement, that big drop off, this consolidation movement, it retested this area and then rejected. Now, based off of this rejection, I think that this is where consolidation will possibly start being able to be at least short term when it comes down to this movement. So there's a scalping opportunity right now that may end up basically intriguing some people back down to 11,840. 11,840. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me say that over again. There's a scalping opportunity that could happen up to 11,800. 11,800 will end up being basically where this resistance was right at this point, right here. Make that in blue. You could see the market basically fall. Well, let's not do blue. Okay, doing this orange. I can see the market falling back towards that area and basically end up retesting that. But just like with anything, we're talking about a retest of an overall move of a current pocket. If you did not catch that current pocket move when it comes down to that, you possibly could see that this market could basically just fall and go inside of consolidation. I like how sellers end up rejecting this overall area, but I don't think that there is enough area for this one to truly get the most out of this movement. What we could see is a beginning of a channel of a movement. Okay. This is what I would look at. I'm going to go to the 15-minute. I'm just going to get out. I'm going to do a game plan real quick. If I'm looking at one move that I can be able to make and be able to scout right now, if I'm going to try anything, it'll possibly be from here's our trend line. Jeez, Travis. Oh, stochastic. No. Whatever. Get that off the screen. Get it off the screen. Okay, there we go. Go to the 15-minute. With a large movement up like that, there's typically somewhat of a significant drop. Now, because we're in the 15-minute sell zone, that means that we got about an hour of movement that we could possibly be able to get to the downside. Now, you want to be a little bit more conservative. Here goes your outer trend line. Here is your inner trend line of this movement right now. Currently, we have a drop. I will look at being able to take a sale all the way down to at least 8,050 area. That would be one of those areas where you could be able to catch some decent pips. It may just be a scalp, but I will look at being able to see if the market could fall down to that area for your first movement. I wouldn't mind looking at being able to take that trade. I actually ended up jumping in ever so softly. I did one micro lot based off of this movement because I'm seeing that the sellers end up rejecting this point based off of the pivot and based off of the large scale consolidation. I'm going to go down to, if this market continues to fall, I would say 11,800 will probably end up being the area where the market could fall to and be safe when it comes down to that movement. Now, if it breaks below 11,800 and then after that falls below 11,783, then it could fall all the way back down to what its market end up having its first support or its natural pocket at 11,670 for its movement. That would be the area where I would pay attention to and try to see if I can be able to get. Currently, right now, I'm actually in on this one at 11,893. Once again, this is nothing more than a scalp. But I do like that the daily is in the sell zone. Because the daily is in the sell zone, it makes it a little bit easier to be able to feel a little bit more comfortable with this. But I need the market to be able to fall down a little bit more before I truly make a large scale sell off of this one. But that would be the area that I'll be looking at being able to get out of when it comes down to this movement. I don't know if the bulls are still going to end up taking control of that movement, or if this is just a retracement of a move. So this would be a quick scout for me off of this one. If I'm wrong, then my stop loss will be just above. Let's see, stop loss will be just above 11,930. 11,930 will end up being my stop loss. Take profit will end up being. Will end up being basically the support at this particular point, or where the market end up creating that overall move. You can say 840, or you can say 11,800. I'm gonna be a little bit more greedy and say 11,800. Okay, so there goes one trade placed in for today. Once again, the reason why I'm doing that is because the market ended up pushing up. It ended up rejecting off of this high volume node, or basically this large scale consolidation, ended up having a big movement to the downside. We do have low volume because this was the low volume pocket area where the market ended up falling. I'm saying that 11,840 will probably end up being the first area where I'll look at being able to take a profit. If the market does reject off of that, it could go all the way down to 11,800 for that. So if you did not catch the big move to the upside, there's a scalping opportunity that may end up happening. Once again, not risking a lot. So if this market does turn around and retrace, then we know that we can be able to get out. But I feel pretty comfortable because the daily's in the sell zone, and we can see that the 15-minute is in the sell zone. That's a counter trend line break that's already there. So there we go for the people that are watching online. Now, let's take a look at XPX 500. XPX 500 will be the last one for today. Currently, right now, we have the same movement, and I'm just going to focus in on the 15-minute. It's going to end up basically bridging the gap to what we're talking about as well. I think that large-scale consolidation is coming, and I think it is coming relatively quickly. The reason why I say that is because that you can see that now our large movements and our large pockets have been fulfilled, and they're back into a lot of consolidation. So that means that any move that will happen will basically end up getting pushed into consolidation again. And because we have that, there's really no great area to stay in on the trade. So this one end up making this movement. High volume node consolidation, big little push within this gap, end up making money off of that one. Consolidation, big move to that gap, end up making money off of that. Large scale consolidation. It broke from this open pocket area and then went into this pocket area right here. Tried to push up to the top of this high volume node, then after that rejected. So went all the way back and fulfilled back inside of the top of that resistance, and since then the market has failed from there. So really nothing much to be able to do off of this move as well. But the dailies and the sell zone on all these pairs. So once again, you may end up seeing that the market end up making a strong movement to the downside. Let's talk about Nas 100. If you end up pulling the trigger, there you go. Take profit one. Should have got filled right there. Take profit two is at 11,800. We're very close for it to getting hit. I'm glad that we was able to make a quick move off of this one. Once again, this is nothing more than a scalp. We're 20 points away from the come down to this. Look at the dailies in the sell zone. I do expect that this will get hit. Be a quick and easy flip when it comes down to this, and be able to move forward when it comes down to that movement. Let's see if we can be able to make money while we're still live, and then after that, we'll shut it out for today. What I'm going to end up doing, just for the sake of being able to do it right now, I'm going to move my trailing stop. Hopefully, the market will end up taking me out before I have to being able to use the trailing stop. But I'm going to guarantee myself that I'm going to end up making. At least 60 points because this thing will end up moving it down automatically. It should move it down automatically, but take profit should get hit. That should be a quick $100 or $95 based off of that movement. Come on. Take me out. Take me out. I'm not going to give it a chance. There we go. Good. Made money for today. Inside of the group. If you end up trading that with us live, then there you go. I'm pretty sure it'll probably end up hitting a little bit lower. But next area from this spot will end up being 11,793. That will be the next area where I'll look at being able to make a trade when it comes down to that movement. If you like what we end up doing, please make sure that you end up liking the Carter Cow Capital business page. Please make sure that you end up liking everything that we end up doing for our overall social medias, and be able to go from there. But there we go. We just made a quick scout, end up making a few dollars based off of that movement, and being able to go from there. If you like what we end up doing, please go to the Carter Cow Capital business page and fill out the information. We end up contacting you when it comes down to the overall movement. Not financial advice, not anything else like that. Just a community of traders that want to be able to help out people being able to make some cash from there. Like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. Everyone, I'll see y'all again tomorrow. Take it easy. Bye.